Welcome guys to another medieval battle with Midnight Games Online. We are playing Medieval Kingdoms 1212 AD. This is the free mod for Total War Attila. And today we have a special historical battle for you guys. This is a battle in the War of Despenser, fought between the two factions actually within the Kingdom of England. One side being the Royalists, led by King Edward II, who we see here with his King's Guard. And the other side is a group of English noblemen known as the Contrariants. And we will see both armies shortly. So again, if you want to skip ahead to the battle itself, click the timestamp in the description below. That'll take you straight to the action. For those of you who want to stick around for the army compositions and see what these two sides are made of, feel free to stick around and not fast forward, and we will go through the armies right now. Now, the War of Despenser and the battles within it were actually fought on quite a small scale. So to represent that, even though this is a 3-on-3 land battle here, or pitched battle, we do have very small armies. I mean, as you can see, my army is 3 shock troops, 4 swords, and my general. Now, the King of England and the Royalist side is over there. All the rest of us are using the General's Bodyguard or a Knight Foot Guard. This was fought in the 1320s, so we are using troops with 14th century armor being the most advanced that are on the field. Here is my general. This is the General's Bodyguard and the Knights of his Bodyguard, and there is Lancaster, one of the nobles that fought against Edward II in this War of Despenser. And now note, Lancaster, that is the English family name from which George R.R. Martin took the name Lannister from. You know, a lot of the events done by the family of the Lancasters inspired some of the events in Game of Thrones. But let's not get too off track here. These are my infantry. And again, the reason why I have this type of army composition is we're trying to make it so that each army, this is one army against one army, and it's a small scale battle. So I control the swords, another player, X-Man, is going to control the cav, etc. So there was my general, and here are the 14th century armored English foot knights. We can see their captain here. Very, very tough unit, and we've got 3 of those. They each have an experience point added. We now have 4 of these early era sergeants, so these guys are wearing the 13th century armor. So some light foot infantry on this side of the Contrariants, also referred to as the English rebels. Now, we do have 2 more players here on my team, so that was my army. I am X-Man 5000 is also controlling part of our army. He has the cavalry, so he has these English knights over here. It's going to be tough to tell some of these players apart, but he does have the English knights over here wearing 14th century armor. His general is back here, also the General's Bodyguard with an experience point, and he has a unit of these really quick light skirmish cav called the Hobilars, who he is already using up front there. And that brings us to our last ally. This is Byzantine Centurion, and he is controlling the spears and the missiles here, and the polearms as well. So there are heavy billmen here of England, and as well as 14th century armored heavy spear infantry. So these are hoisting these big Pavis shields, and we see 3, 4, 5, 6 of those, 2 of these heavy billmen, and then he brings retinue longbows in the front line, and he kind of has experience points scattered throughout his army here. So the retinue longbows there of England. And this is the Contrarian faction. Oh, I did miss some of I Am X-Man's cav. He's got 2 knights here. And then he's got some, looks like, mounted sergeants over here. Interesting. So perhaps 3 of the English knights and 2 of the mounted sergeants. Let's take a quick glance at these mounted sergeants here in the back. And here we see the mounted sergeants. And now we're going to move over to this side here and take a look at the Royalists these are going to be impossible for me to tell apart. We have the Moon Wolfie controlling Kingdom of England, Royalists, E-Good, and a player named Grunts. So those are the 3 players controlling the Royalists. Now, one of them has the cavalry here, so 3 units of these Hobilars. Looks like 2 English Knights, or 3 English Knight units. So he's gone extra heavy on the Hobilars. He's left out any mounted sergeants. Here is the General's bodyguard. There is the King of England, King Edward II, leading the Royalists. And we do see him. We saw him earlier. I'm not sure where he's hiding now. Right there with the crown and the knightly sword, the arming sword. There he is, with his transitional plate armor. And then we have spearmen here, heavy spear infantry. This would be the next player controlling them. That we've already seen them. Heavy bills over here. 3 more heavy spear infantry. Another unit of heavy billmen there. And then we have some sergeants here. And they are wearing 13th century armor. In the back we do see some bows, and these are again the retinue longbows of England, this time on the Royalist side. He brings 4 units of those, another heavy spear in the back there behind the bows. And then he has these English foot knights, which we've seen, wearing 14th century armor. And then one of the other generals, so we have a variety of generals here. We have the King's bodyguard, so the King of England, the only King's bodyguard on the field here. We have a general's bodyguard, which is the same as our 3 generals. And then we have a English foot knight bodyguard general. So this is a group of foot knights whose commander is actually right here. So a very strong foot knight general. That is, and he comes with only 45 men, this unit. So there are the army compositions, guys. In order to run this replay, it is a bit of an older one. We had to download the older version of the mod. So there may be a little bit of lag associated with that, but we'll try to get through that as best we can. And here we do have X-Man with his Hobilars trying to feint these 3 Hobilars out, but the problem here is it's 3 against 1. He brought mounted sergeants instead of more Hobilars, so that is going to be tricky. We do see the bowman being pushed up here by Byzantine Centurion. He's trying to help X-Man out, but these 3 players controlling the Royalists, whoever's controlling the cavalry, I'm not sure if that was the Moon Wolfie, E-Good, or Grunts, but they are a little too smart to jump into the range of these bows right now. So these Hobilars do try to send some shafts the other way, and it looks like some of them have already thrown some javelins, but I don't see any kills yet. Yeah, both armies at full strength. The almost identical sizes here, only an 8-man difference between the 2 armies. The Royalists pushing up their cavalry here on the side, while the Hobilars continue to duel here without any real effect. Let's take a look at X-Man's Hobilars, who have the tough job of trying to skirmish here. While being heavily outgunned.
They've chosen their own fight today. Remember your training. This is where we teach them a lesson!
And just a little too close. So they are going to pull back. And they are surrounded here, the Hobilars. But not completely, only partially. So they do manage to pull back. They still have all 60 of their men. And we see some English knights being pushed up here by the Contrariants. And so far the battle being more about positioning, and the Royalists advancing slowly to meet the English rebels, or the Contrariants, over here. In the meantime, it looks like the cavalry is being pushed up, accompanied by some billmen and some spears on this left wing of the Royalists, endangering the right flank here of our army. So we do have Byzantine Centurion trying to help out X-Man by pushing up some heavy billmen here, as well as his general, actually, his mounted generals here to help out X-Man. Really overloading this side with cavalry. And we do see two of the generals here, including King Edward II and his King's Guard for the Royalists. And more Hobilar action as the Royalist Hobilars now moving up. We can see X-Man's Hobilars here, and they're almost in bow range, so they are going to try to maneuver a little bit, throw the archers off. And now we do see some arrows overhead, splitting in on this unit. And there's the first kills now. Too close with these Hobilars, the Royalists.
Our ally is under attack from the enemy.
But we see, looks like only one of them down so far. And they're being rushed here by spears now, so they're going to try to pull out. But more arrows landing among these Hobilars. And we see some more fallen Hobilars here in the back as this unit pulls out. Now the two sides are almost within missile range here with the infantry. In the back, we do see some Hobilars on the move here from the Royalists. As well as more Hobilars here. And they are faster than these mounted sergeants. The Hobilars have a speed of 120. The mounted sergeants trying to catch them have a speed of 90, which is by no means slow. But the Hobilars quickly outdistance them, as we can see. But because this unit strayed too close to the bowmen, they do have 7 deaths. And actually, 6 of those seem to be from X-Man's Hobilars, and only 1 from the bowmen. And those are the first 7 deaths in the battle. And now we do see a beautiful charge here by the mounted sergeants. They did catch some Hobilars in hand-to-hand, and they, as we can see, they are cutting them down. Because the mounted sergeants are just stronger. So the mounted sergeants of the Contrariants, having caught Royal Hobilars here, And they've cut one unit to pieces. Now, for some reason, the Royalists throwing in the second Hovelar unit against the mounted sergeants using hand-to-hand, and they're not going to do well. It may be because their ammunition was done. Yes, they were out of ammo, so they were just sort of thrown in there. And they did get a nice charge and actually some kills, but I do believe they're not, even though they have the momentum of the charge, they're not going to do very well in extended hand-to-hand with mounted sergeants. That being said, mounted sergeants are not quite knights. So maybe they can pull it off here. The cavalry really starting to look like they are going to begin this battle in a big way. We have the general's bodyguard in the front, the king in the back, kind of safe behind his first wall of cavalry from this royalist side here. The infantry closing to nearly missile range, but not quite missile range. Almost there. Probably 1/3 of that distance needs to get cut to about here before we're in missile range. And now we do have some other mounted sergeants going in to help that first unit with the charge against the Hovelars from the flank. And they pull out. Interesting. They pull out. And it looks like X-Man is not quite sure what to do, whether to try to charge this unit and expose his back, or whether to line up here against the Royalist cav. And now the mounted sergeants are being pulled out. They're going to lose men doing this. 2 men, 4 men, 5, and they're shaken now. 6 men pulling out. And these Hovelars, although a lot of them, 16 did get cut down in hand-to-hand, they continue to drive forward. And they've actually charged both units of mounted sergeants now. So, very good play here by the Royalist player to catch X-Man off guard like that by charging Hovelars, which you don't really see very often. And he's actually going to finish this mounted sergeant unit because they pulled out. This one now stuck in hand-to-hand. No deaths yet, but there we go. One of X-Men's mounted sergeants units down to 17 men and broken, fleeing the battlefield. Very good work by the Hovelars. And we see he is pulling his Hovelar unit off to the side now, which leaves this Royalist Hovelar unit, which was down by 7 men, to try to flank here. I am pushing swords to the left wing here to solve that. Now the second mounted sergeant units, they've only lost 1 man. It looks like they will finish off these light Hovelars. And it looks like he doesn't like what he's looking at over here, which is polearm unit and 2 sword units, as well as a general's bodyguard. So that Hovelar is probably going to pull away. And we do have our second broken unit of the game here, which is the first one on the Royalist side, which is the Hovelars here. Sometimes these units do rally, as we see here actually. The mounted sergeants, 15 of them have rallied. And the Hovelars will rally too, only 13 of them. But sometimes they're so far off the field the players actually forget about them. And the infantry closing now. And we do have the retinue longbows in range, and there we go, losing some shafts. And some shafts incoming there. See a little spurt of blood from the bows on the other side. And the infantry closing now as the cavalry lies in wait. In wedge formation, they are all prepared. All of the shot cavalry is ready. I have sent a unit of foot knights over here, and I think we have a unit of billmen in the back for the Contrariants. Billmen and 2 spears here for the Royalists, and they are sending a foot knight too, so they're probably waiting on that to get there before they make a move. But the infantry now, the spears here in spear wall, with their shields up in the front, and in the second row and and just forward in front of them in the first row, sort of to block any incoming missiles, and we can see that here in a bit of a testudo formation. The Hobblers here still with some ammunition, no kills yet, trying to circle, trying to find a target. The bows are being safely pulled back behind the spears. And that Hobbler unit, I'm not quite sure what it's doing, but it's very close to the spears. Is he going to charge the spears? Looks like one or two of them got stuck on some spears and did get killed. Well, actually more than that. Looks like 9 of them. So this is just sort of a very tense situation with the big missile war ongoing. I do have more swords over here. Maybe that's where he's going with this unit. It seems to be just the one chaotic element on the field. And some arrows taking them out, and they do charge. Some of them stuck there. I think that might be my Foot Knight unit, and it just scored 8 kills, so yeah. The Hobblars almost out now wavering, and that looks like the end of their little run. But they did cause some chaos, although in the end it was ineffective chaos. Down to 3 men out of 60, and they will probably break in the face of this Foot Knight charge. Yeah, that's it. That unit is broke. And almost completely dead. And the white flag indicates they are heading off the field now. Shattered will be the term. So the Royalists here reinforcing their own flank. They do have their English Foot Knights now there, and they are fresh and rested. So really now, these ones here, although they fought Hobblars, they didn't lose any. They still have the full 128 men with 8 kills now to their name. And it looks like a rally cry on this side by one of the generals here. It wasn't Lancaster, who's back here, but one of the other earls of the Contrariants. I'm not sure why this is not a good moment for a rally cry. Usually you want to do that when you're about to be wavering or you need some morale. And then there's a long cooldown for that, so that general won't have that ability for a little while. And smartly, now the Royalists start to move. So the cavalry slowly inching their way up, foot by foot. And on this side we do have some bows moving up too. Now the retinue longbows over here taking some casualties. So the Contrariant bows doing better than the Royalist bows. But this is still any side's battle, or either side's battles. And he is advancing with his billmen in the front, so the Contrariants quickly rush their bills to the front as well. And the bills are preparing here. But we do have a general's bodyguard here, and they will charge, guys. Oh no, they won't. Yes, they do. Wedge formation. They do get the charge off. And now the King of England here, circling in the back. There's a unit here of mounted sergeants that may not have any orders. Yes, they do get some orders now, and here's the charge.
Their unit has rallied.
And the King of England has charged straight into them. And he's taken one casualty, but he's killed 16 mounted sergeants. However, the general's bodyguard circling, trying to get a charge in on the King of England here. I'm not sure if this is X-Man or Byzantine Centurion. But the king has seemingly broken this mounted sergeant's unit already. And we do have engagements all around now. My own shock infantry, the English knights, in melee combat here with some mounted knights of England. So just a gigantic battle breaking out here. The general's bodyguard does charge the king's bodyguard and does score one little kill, but they do pull out before the spearmen get involved. And they are going to charge back in though. Cycle charge. Nailing some of the spearmen here as well as crashing into the king's bodyguard. Now the mounted sergeants break and run, half their unit dead. The king's bodyguard has lost 6 men now. This general's bodyguard only with 1 casualty. Their spears are shaking, but if they can survive the impetus of that charge, they will do well in prolonged melee against the cavalry unit. The other general's bodyguard here stuck facing English knights.
Our ally flees.
And this royalist general not doing too well so far against the English knights. They did score a good number of kills, but we do see just these fellow countrymen, Englishmen on Englishmen here in knightly combat. And the general's bodyguard, 28 out of 53 left. This English knight unit, 38 out of 53. And again, the combats are overlapping with other units here. So a gigantic battle breaking out here. The infantry have crashed into each other. We see some Contrarian spears here. Let's go from their point of view. They're taking on the Royalist spears of England. And just a gigantic battle here. Much bigger than it seems too, because you have 6 players on the field. Although this was not a very large battle in this game, as in history. As none of the battles in the Despenser War were very large.
The enemy general is fallen.
And we do have 1 fallen general, and that looks to be here, the general's bodyguard. So not the king, but now the king being charged by a unit of 22 mounted sergeants from the back. And here we are from the king's point of view, and there we see him in the center of the screen with a crown on his head and the single-handed sword in combat. And he's fighting.
Our allies' general is dead.
And this general now fallen, the general of the Contrariants, the nobleman that was battling with the English king, has fallen, and the mounted sergeant unit wavering beside him. But our other general winning the battle against the Royalist general's bodyguard and freed up now. So we'll see if he charges into the King of England or what will happen here, as both these two opposing sides have won. And yes, it looks like that might be the plan. No, it's hard to tell right now which way they're going to go.
The men are running. Stand and fight, damn you!
Right now they seem to still be hunting down this unit. But the king now taking the initiative and charging into them, getting the charge bonus here. The King of England, oh there we go, with a great charge into the Contrarian general. And that battle ongoing here. Now we see some rebel knights in combat with the Royalist spears here. And both sides already very bloody. Knights with the two-handed weapons. The spears with their large hobbies, shields, and spears. In a 2-on-1 type of battle here. A nice charge here by some Royalist English knights, crashing into the foot knights, the Contrarian foot knights, and wavering them, and possibly causing them to break. Yes, they do break.
Flee the field of battle. This is a shameful display.
And it looks like my general here already with 202 kills. We haven't been watching him at all. But 202 kills, he's lost 14 out of the 53 men of the bodyguard. And the Royalist general here in hand-to-hand. Let's take a very brief look at how he's doing against some rebel swordsmen and spears. And there he is. Well, that's not the commander, but that is his bodyguard. Now, the bodyguard of my general, one of the Contrarian noblemen, Lancaster, charging into the backs of these men and scoring another, well, looks like only 3 kills here. Perhaps not the best charge. And he is circling out. So it'll be interesting to see here what the next play will be for our general here. And it looks like I'm going to be pulling him back in. And we're going to quickly dive back into the point of view here. And in the back is that, yes, the king's bodyguard. So he didn't fall, but King Edward is fleeing the field here. And I see we have a unit of English knights breaking through. Perhaps this is what I'm trying to save my general for. And he does, I do a rally cry here to try to up the morale. Now back to the English foot guard general. He's lost almost half his unit. Fighting bravely here. And some great looks here. Cutting down some of the melee there, but he is surrounded now, completely surrounded. He's got 90 kills. Well, these 45 men have 90 kills, but they're surrounded, and he does break. So the infantry side going well for the rebels here. So that was a nice rally cry by my general to sort of tip the scales here, or help tip the scales at least. But of course, Byzantine Centurion, with most of the units in this area, these blue units, the infantry and the poles and the spears,
enemy units have been rallied.
And really doing well here against the Royalists. He also won the archer battle from what I can remember. And yes, look at this retinue longbow unit, 27 men left out of 75, and they have 113 kills. So, and they've used all their arrows. My foot knight unit here looks like we're cleaning up some of these royal spears. And that might be it for them. They do break. The Royalists doing what they can, throwing in some heavy billmen and a spear unit. And here they go. They do charge, and they're taking on what's left of this retinue longbow unit. The Royal billmen are going to do well gutting some of these archers. And they do flee. The archers running. The spearmen being thrown in here from the Royalists as well. But the Contrariants are ready for them. So another rally cry down here. That must be my general. And these spears are going to have a tough time here with their general dead and already shaken. Yeah, they will be breaking. And now we're down to 1,200 men against 268. And at this point, yeah, your army's just going to break. The odds are against them. So the Royalists losing here in our rendition of this battle. Although we do still see, I believe this may be their last unit here. Some English foot knights of the Royalists here in hand-to-hand against Contrarian foot knights. And there was a nice kill we saw. But it looks like the Royalists, even though they do break this unit, are going to lose this battle.